All right, welcome back to the Bitfinex live stream. I'm your host, Ricardo Martinez. We're broadcasting live from the Plan B Forum in El Salvador, and I'm here with Juan Galt. Juan,
Hello, man.
how are you? I feel like
Great.
it's almost a tradition to interview you at Bitcoin conferences in El Salvador.
It would not be the same if you didn't interview me at Bitfinex conference. No, it's great to be here, man. Appreciate you doing the show. You've had a lot of people on, right?
Yeah, I've interviewed a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about you, man. How many times have you been in El Salvador now?
This is my third time here.
Third time here?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And have you noticed any changes in El Salvador coming here 3 different times?
You know, I haven't been able to have a look around yet because, kind of landed and straight into the conference. But I am hearing good things. It does seem like everything's developing further, right? And the energy is very similar as before. Like, people are just kind of optimistic in general, right? And I mean, this conference has been fantastic. And every time they're bigger, every time I come, there's more people, more talent, So looking forward to spending a few days after the conference here in El Salvador. I'm going to be in El Sante, and I want to check out Berlin. Berlin's a cool town that's got a Bitcoin community as well. And so, but yeah, I mean, so far so good. It definitely is improving. Like, even the little bit that I've seen outside of the conference, yeah.
Nice.
Good.
And then what was your presentation that you gave here at the conference?
Right. So I gave a speech. Basically, you can find it on my Twitter, the English version. It's how to avoid the top 5 mistakes in Bitcoin self-custody. And it was very well received. People were, incredibly attentive. I think it's a topic that it shocks people, and but in a good way. And I think people are left it with some tools and some understanding and a little bit more caution, right? Because I think self-custody is, I love it. I'm a native to this technology, right? I tell people that I'm a crypto native, and when I say crypto, I'm not talking like altcoins or whatever. I'm talking cryptography, right? Like, I'm a cryptographic finance native.
Yeah.
I've never owned a stock. I've only really played with this technology in terms of finance, and so I think self-custody is very powerful and very cool, but there's a lot of people that probably, they're gonna, when they do the final analysis, maybe it's not for them, and maybe that's okay. And they just need to address those personal risks on their own end. So I think it was a very good conversation. I think a lot of people that are self-custody, they followed up with me and they had questions, and clearly they're going to improve their setup. And so, yeah, this is, there's a lot to talk about there. Yeah, it was fun too.
Nice. Well, I'm happy that your presentation went well. How do you feel about like the Latin American presence here at the conference?
The what?
Latin American presence.
There's a lot of people. It's they have like a whole Spanish section, and that's where we are right now, hanging out. And there's a lot of Latin Americans, and you can tell it's sort of business people. You can tell that it's sort of people that are, let's say, wealthier or are in that stage of life when they're investing sort of their life's sort of earnings, or they're sort of looking into investments, right? So it's sort of that kind of crowd, and that makes a lot of sense, If you don't have any money, you're not thinking about how to invest because you don't have much money, right? So but there's been a few cool things. So the drone show last night was fun, right? And that's the kind of thing that a lot of people kind of can get around. I mean, there's a mountaintop up here, up that way, with a bunch of houses, and I can't imagine what the view must have been like from there, seeing this huge Bitcoin float in 3D space, and you gotta be the aliens arrived, like
Yeah.
that's cool. So I think, but yeah, no, the presence has been very good. Yeah.
What's been your experience spending Bitcoin here, like on your 3rd trip? You've been here 3 years in a row now. Like, has it become easier and easier to spend Bitcoin?
So I mean, again, like, I haven't left the conference basically, but I've paid for almost everything in Bitcoin. I think I paid for something in dollars at some point. It was like the fee, like the tourist visa was like $10, and I didn't ask to pay in Bitcoin. I just gave them cash,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, my expectation is that it's that the payments adoption of Bitcoin is not higher. It might be in certain flashpoints, certain spots. So, but I just haven't experienced it yet. Like I haven't really gone outside of the conference, and the conference is fully Bitcoinized, right? You can pay with Lightning almost everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to catch any of the presentations and talks, or have you just kind of been hanging out with the Bitcoiners?
Yeah, you know, when I come to conferences, I come to network with people and talk and hang out and meet fans. And so I don't really go to the speeches, but I've heard of a few very interesting ones that I want to check out. There's a debate on covenants earlier, which I think is a very interesting topic. Topic that I'm a fan of. I think covenants would probably be good. I don't know if it's the right time for it. You know, but probably when the fees go up more, it'll be the time. But yeah, looking forward to catching some of those later, because there's definitely a lot of talent here. And I mean, just so you get a kind of a glimpse of what's going on, I'm pretty sure every VC firm that works in Bitcoin has people here represented. I'm pretty sure the president was hanging out at the hotel over here not long ago, probably having meetings with, you know, the movers and shakers, right? So this is it's evident that it's a very important conference, a very important moment for people to talk. And with everything that's gone down this week in the news, not only Tether announcing that they're going to launch on Taproot assets on Lightning, but also, you know, the Bitcoin law being sort of rolled back to some degree on an issue that was actually very controversial at the time, which makes me think it's a good thing. And then obviously with the Trump admin in the States, I mean, this is an incredible moment for Bitcoin, and you can see it in the talent that has showed up here.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you brought up the IMF thing, because it's been like a topic of conversation here with a lot of Bitcoiners that I've talked to. It's kind of too early to tell if it's going to be like a good or a bad thing, but it doesn't seem to be stopping anyone here right now. Like everybody's spending Bitcoin everywhere here.
No, and I mean, I think the reality is this is something that I've been trying to get. It's a new line of thought that I'm pushing out, which is that, you know, Bitcoiners ask, like, why don't people like to use Bitcoin as a currency? You know, like even in El Salvador, where the law in theory tells you have to accept it, even though it was never enforced as far as I know, you still get maybe 10% adoption from payments perspective. And the reason is not because people don't like to use Bitcoin, or even because it's difficult to use. It's because people don't have it. People don't have any Bitcoin. Nobody has any Bitcoin. There may be 200 million people in the world that have Bitcoin. We are maybe 1% of the global capital of the world. So 10% adoption when you're 1% of the global capital is actually pretty good. All things considered, like for per capita type of things, maybe, right?
Yeah.
I actually do think it's pretty good, but we're in the distribution stage of Bitcoin, in the moment where the Bitcoin is sort of moving out, and it's going to happen. It's going to get adopted as a store of value, as a collateral, as a savings technology first. That doesn't mean that it can't or won't be used for payments. It will, and it should, and people should use it and should defend the ability to use it as payments. But as far as like payments adoption, that's the issue. Nobody has it, and so you got to put it in people's hands first, and that's going to happen through a variety of means. One of which is probably going to be the bank. I don't know how do you say this word? The bankification of Bitcoin, right? Like this just happened this last week or so. Trump signed a bill related to letting banks
custody Bitcoin.
An executive order, letting banks custody and offer Bitcoin value to the product, to their customers. I think a bill has to pass through Congress again, but that was already written and it passed Congress and Biden vetoed it, which means they're just going to roll it again and Trump's going to approve it. So that means banks are going to offer Bitcoin value accounts. That will onboard a lot of people. That's going to change the industry in a very interesting and profound way. I think to some degree the banks are like a decade late anyway, and a lot of the technology we've built, again, like I am evidence of a whole generation of people that have onboarded Bitcoin without the help of the banks. In fact, in despite the banks, and I mean, to some degree, it's not the bank's fault. The regulators didn't let them, but then again, the banks kind of pay the regulators and lobbies and congressmen. So like, you know, it is the moment now for banks to sort of enter the Bitcoin industry.
Yeah.
But I don't think it threatens anything fundamental. But Tether was created, as far as I can tell, in part to deal with the issue that nobody would give us bank accounts. You just couldn't get a bank account.
Yeah.
And so we literally invented a digital synthetic dollar, crypto dollar, in order to hedge Bitcoin's volatility, and that's Tether. And so I wonder what effect this will have in the market. But I think also sort of these kind of stablecoin technologies, they're just faster, cheaper, better than fiat, and that's why people love them, and that's why they've found product market fit. And that's what. So yeah, I mean, the world is definitely taking that shape of Bitcoin as a savings technology, Tether and stablecoins as a payments technology, and then eventually Visa and Mastercard are going to enter the game. And what happens then, right? When Visa and Mastercard flip on the Bitcoin switch, so you'll get Bitcoin as payments, but I think that's kind of how it's going to shape up, right? And I mean, Lightning is far superior than credit card payments in general, from a privacy perspective, from an ease of use perspective, right? You can just scan a QR code and send the money instead of giving all your information. It's so annoying to put in a new credit card on a payments platform, right? And the amount of privacy that gets leaked and all the identity theft and fraud that happens in TradFi. So I think we have a very bright future. We're very well positioned, and things are going to change a lot.
Yeah, I think so too. With this bank thing, the U.S. is now going to become banking friendly to crypto, but in a lot of places that same problem still exists. There's a lot of places where Bitcoin companies are all in on Bitcoin, or they hold money in stablecoins or whatever, just because they can't access financial services still. So the U.S. is changing, and that's good because it's one of the leading markets, and a lot of people follow the U.S. policies. So I can see once they start doing it, a whole lot of other places will start doing it.
Absolutely.
But there's still right now, to this day, a problem with crypto businesses being able to get banking services.
Yeah. Even in El Salvador, as far as I hear, I mean, a lot of companies do have banking services now, but they're at it for a long time, and it's taken a long time. And it's not trivial, as far as I know, to get a bank account here. But I as a Bitcoin business, I'm not an expert on that topic, so maybe that's changed. But yeah, I mean, and that's the case, and I think that'll continue to be the case for at least a year or two. But yeah, with the United States leading the charge on that, I think a lot of the world will follow.
Yeah. What do you think about tokenization? I've been hearing a lot about tokenization getting talked about this conference. A lot of the Salvadorian Bitcoiners that are here are super pumped on digital assets and the regulatory structure and tokenized assets, real world assets that are being tokenized, real estate and things of that nature.
It's tokenized equity, right? It's kind of the line of thinking there, right?
Yeah. What's your opinion on that?
I mean, I like it from the perspective that I've never owned a stock, and I'd rather not have to give all this information through a broker. I understand that tokens are centralized because it's equity and you're investing in a company. That's self-evident. And I would rather have it in my hardware wallet than on a brokerage account. So it makes sense to me. I don't know, I understand that there's a kind of critique, a Bitcoin maximalist critique against it. I think it also, the old arguments of tokenization were a little bit hyperbolic and silly, you're going to tokenize all the things. But we've seen examples of this kind of working. There's this one startup that I met in Medellin, met one of the founders, and basically they're an Airbnb they're not really an Airbnb, they're an Airbnb investment crowdfunding platform. So basically you get on there and you can, if you have an apartment, you put up your pictures and you say, hey guys, here's my Airbnb profile, here's my Airbnb data, here's my income through the Airbnb. I'm raising some money to renovate and upgrade. And then so you tokenize the debt, distribute it through the platform.
Yeah.
People buy it, this tokenized debt from you, and on a reputation basis, you pay it back, right? And so there's sort of cash flow metrics. I mean, it's a kind of micro investing that seems very useful, especially for small entrepreneurs, especially when banks are very tight with loans and require, ridiculous collateral. I mean, in Colombia, you can have a house that's worth $500,000 and you can't get a loan against it unless you also have a job that brings in $3,000 a month. And so it's why am I putting my house as collateral if you're asking me for my proof of income?
Yeah.
Right? The whole point is I'm putting my house in collateral. So, credit in Latin America and in the global south is a lot more difficult and expensive and rigid than in the United States. And these kind of solutions, I think, they probably are going to find the market.
Yeah, no, I think they will for sure, because like, especially here in El Salvador, like you always hear like these statistics get thrown around that like over half the people here don't have access to like banking services and stuff like that. Like a lot of the economy runs on cash. The businesses have that same problem in accessing finance and things like that. So in order for them to raise capital, like they have to like offer like tokenized investments to like outside money. Like I was talking to Guillermo Contreras from Ditto Banks earlier today, and he was saying that there was like a development project that's $3 billion, and like the whole country, there's not that kind of liquidity, so they have to tokenize it and like try to raise that capital from abroad, because like between all the banks and family offices, there's not $3 billion in liquidity to invest.
$3 billion, right?
Yeah.
What's the project about?
It's like a development, like property development, like real estate, probably building like apartments or like.
Wow.
Yeah. I forget exactly what he said it was, but. Yeah, like
cool.
that's like the kind of issues that these companies are facing. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's and that's one of the great things about this technology, is that it is sort of, because it's internet native, it is inherently global in that sense. The market is global, and you can try and put guardrails around it, but at the end of the day, the end state of this is that anybody is going to be able to invest in anything, anywhere, and it's going to be, to some degree, a reputation game for getting it paid back, and as long as people understand the risks and what they're investing in, which is a financial literacy issue, then that's going to be fine, I think.
Yeah. Juan, is there anything that you're working on that you want to promote?
Yeah. Well, I'm working on a peer-to-peer project. I don't have, let's say, a whole lot to say on it right now, but I am with the Top Builder the Top Builder cohort with the Pleb Labs guys, and that's been a really fun experience, meeting a lot of these entrepreneurs and having conversations with them and learning a ton. And then so that's kind of my main gig right now. But I also have my podcast. I just interviewed the founder CEO of Lava.xyz, a sort of Bitcoin collateralized Bitcoin lending product. I feel like we need like less words to describe this, but basically you put your Bitcoin app as collateral, you get loans. The thing is, they're actually doing it on chain on Bitcoin with a time lock DLC. So it's basically DeFi, so to speak, applied to Bitcoin. Okay. And they give you USDC on Solana, but you never have to pay the Solana fee. They cover the fee. So it's basically you get USDC against your Bitcoin. Your Bitcoin is in your wallet in a contract against an oracle, and then the oracle settles the trade either way, type of thing. So it's a very I hate the word decentralized at this point, but like it is about as far into self-custody with loans as I've seen, and it's the kind of technology that people in Ethereum are used to that Bitcoin has just not experienced. So I think they're very cool. We had a great conversation. Go check it out at thebitcoinnews.com. The bitcoinnews.com Twitter account. We just published it. And I still do the podcast at juangalt.com. You can subscribe to my newsletter and look at my show, The Juan Galt Show, on your podcast feed. Yeah.
Well, my brother, thank you so much for coming on here and doing the interview.
Yeah, man.
It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, you too, man. Thank you for hooking me up. I wouldn't be here without this guy. He's a man.
Indeed. Well, thank you, man.
Appreciate it, bro.